An alarm clock on Siren's bedside table reads 2 a.m. Siren awakes to nails loudly scratching outside of her door in a little girl's voice.
Help me! Help me! Help me! Help me!
Siren remembers her dream from last night.
You're just a dream.
The little girl cries and wails.
Why do you need my help?
Because of Pearl.
Pearl? What do you mean?
Silence. Absolute silence.
Hello? Is Pearl in trouble?
Again, only silence.
Hello? Where'd you go?
Still no response. Worried about Pearl, Siren climbs out of bed and looks through the keyhole in the door. No one is there, so she slowly opens the door. She takes 3 steps into the dark hallway, which is lit only by the moon coming from the big window at the top of the stairs. She gets to the end of the hall, still doesn't see anyone, and is generally skittish and scared, so she runs back into her bedroom. Pearl and Siren are in the hunter green, weather-beaten outbuilding. The interior contains hanging tools, a large red tool cabinet, a sturdy work table, a welding tank and torch, an old refrigerator, a time clock, and a covered vehicle. Cobwebs and dust are abundantly present and they agitate Siren's cough. But Pearl has her helping to load potting soil and fertilizer, as well as various gardening tools into a wheelbarrow.
Pearl, is my mama coming to get me soon?
Well, you're not well yet.
Do you have bad dreams?
Well, sure, sweetie. How come? Did you have a bad dream last night?
I had the same bad dream last night and the other night.
Really? What was the dream?
A girl scratching on my door. She asked for help.
Huh. Well, that doesn't sound too scary to me.
It was to me.
Well, it sounds like you're having a recurring dream. I mean, I'm certainly no scientist with a fancy schmancy PhD and whatnot, but that seems right to me. Oh, stay in school, darling. Don't drive after some man. It's never worth it.
They leave the outbuilding and push the wheelbarrow to the garden, near the back of the house.
Hun, I'm sorry you're having nightmares and I don't know what advice to give you. Try to take your mind off it by planting cucumbers.
Pearl's wearing a large sun hat. She's on her hands and knees spreading the soil and fertilizer with a small spade. Siren's standing by in the same tattered dress she's had on since the women's shelter. She has the cucumber seed packets in her hands and is dropping a few in each of the holes that Pearl is creating. Siren is giggling because Pearl is pretending that the fertilizer is delicious and acts like she's eating it with each scoop of the spade. And she's also playfully flinging some of it at Siren.
This is some high-quality manure right here. Siren, it's delicious.
Pearl actually puts some in her mouth. Pretends to enjoy it. Possibly really does, then spits it out. Siren shrieks and giggles with pleasure. Pearl gives her a big toothy fertilizer grin.
I'm gonna have this for din. Beef shirts. That's what's for dinner.
Pearl drives through the gate of Sunset View Cemetery and winds around a couple of roads to find the 100-year-old oak tree to mark their picnic spot. As they exit the car, Siren is carrying the basket. Pearl is carrying a blanket and folding chairs. They walk up a grassy knoll to where the oak tree shades the ground. Pearl spreads the blanket, lays out the pillows, unfolds the chairs, and begins unpacking their sandwiches, fried chicken, and cookies.
My grandpappy's buried here, Siren.
Siren, biting into a sandwich, nods and smiles.
But there's no tombstone to mark where he's buried.
Siren continues nodding, not really grasping any meaning.
He's buried right where we're sitting, under the blanket.
Really?
Yes, and it's a special place for me. He always said I was his favorite granddaughter. In fact, it's his goddamn residence that I live in. He left it for me in his will.
Jumping up, Pearl goes into combat mode and begins aggressively swatting her hands at pesky flies and yellow jackets that have been swarming their victuals.
To paint yourself into a corner, I'm going shell on these flies.
They eventually finish eating, leaving everything there, including trash in the blanket and chairs, then speed away in Pearl's car. In the washroom, Siren is very sleepy and getting ready to take a shower. She checks the temperature of the running water with her hand, then gets in and starts washing her hair. Out of nowhere, she hears the creaking hinges of a big heavy door. The door's creaking stops and is replaced by a shuffling sound like something being dragged across a floor. Startled and afraid, she turns the water off and listens attentively. She reaches through the curtain and grabs an oversized bathrobe and climbs out of the shower. She quietly tiptoes to the wooden railing near the washroom door and peers over the edge to figure out if that's where the strange sound is coming from. She cannot see anything down there because of the darkness near the bottom steps, and the door itself is deeply recessed and out of view. But the shuffling sound keeps getting louder.
Pearl? Is that you?
She quietly walks around the rail to the landing area atop the steps and squints her eyes to see through the darkness and perceives some movement in the shadows near the wide-open basement door. As the sound continues to get closer and louder, a figure comes into view. It's an older woman in her late 40s, with an elongated face and empty black sockets where her eyes must have been long ago. Her legs are severely crippled and she is strenuously using her muscular arms to drag and crawl herself up the steps towards Siren. Siren freezes in fear, watching as the woman keeps moving closer and closer to her. Chuck gets about 5 feet from where Siren is standing. Her visage communicates elation and evil.
I see you!
Siren screams and lurches sideways, slipping on the wet floor, hitting her head extremely hard on the corner of the freezer and blacks out.
Siren?
Pearl comes running in.
Siren! Siren, oh honey!
Pearl picks up Siren, trying to shake her awake.
Owie! My head!
Siren sobs in pain and fright.
Oh, you got a good bump there. Go upstairs and lie down. I'll bring you a bag of ice for your head.
Fully coming to, Siren becomes delirious and points towards the basement.
There's a scary lady down there!
Pearl shows her the empty steps and the basement door is shut.
Look, there is nobody down there. You hit your head really hard and may have a minor concussion. Go on upstairs now and lie down. I'll be there in a minute.
Siren obeys and staggers upstairs to her bedroom. Pearl enters the kitchen and grabs a bag of peas out of the freezer. and then from one of the cabinets removes 3 medicine bottles and takes a pill from each. She chooses a red one, a white one, and a blue one. All the while humming the American national anthem as she passively crushes the pills into a spoonful of grape jelly. Pearl carries the items to Siren's room. Pearl jerks the spoonful of jelly drugs around in the air, like a B-52 bomber in World War II dodging flak. Or maybe it's more like the band the B-52s, jerking around on stage to the song Rock Lobster. One time at an old has-beens convention, I thought I met Fred Schneider, the singer from the B-52s. You know, the guy who sings, "I've got me a car, it's as big as a whale, so I'm about to set sail." Turns out it was just French Stewart. She then sits on the side of Siren's bed holding out the spoonful of sugary jelly drugs. She is tender and maternal.
Concord grape jelly helps for bumps, severe head trauma, and the herpes.
Pearl spoon feeds the jelly drugs to Siren and puts the peas on her aching forehead. The medicine quickly knocks her out.
Brave.
The bedside clock reads 1:50 a.m. Siren wakes up and has to go pee. She walks into the upstairs hallway, shuts the bedroom door behind her, and goes to the tiny half bathroom at the opposite end of the hall. Entering the bathroom, there is a small sink on the left and a mirrored medicine cabinet above it. And on the right is a toilet, which has a magazine rack beside it, and attached to the wall above that is a shelf with extra toilet paper and folded washcloths. Siren shuts the door and makes sure to lock it with the hook and eyelatch lock. She lifts the toilet seat, sits down, and sees a highlights magazine. On the back is a What's Missing game. She goes pee and gets carried away with trying to find the pictorial changes. About 10 minutes elapse and Siren finishes the game. She flushes the toilet, opens the door, and as she takes a couple of steps out into the hallway, she stops when she sees the back of Pearl's motionless figure in a white nightgown, crouched like a gargoyle, facing her bedroom door across the hallway. She stops mid-word as suddenly Pearl begins to slowly scratch the door with her left hand. Siren stands there paralyzed with fear and confusion, watching as Pearl continues slowly scratching the door.
Help me. Please help me.
Obviously, Pearl doesn't receive an answer. Siren's eyes get enormous when she recognizes the same little girl's voice from her recurring dream coming from Pearl.
Why are you saying anything, Siren? Answer me, you little bitch.
Pearl, without moving anything besides her neck, slowly turns her head to the right at a 45-degree angle, towards the sound of the loud gasp behind her. Siren runs back into the bathroom and slams the door behind her. She frantically fidgets with the little hook latch, trying to lock the door. Pearl remains in the hallway, crouched in the same position and doesn't move. Siren huddles in the floor in the corner near the toilet, hyperventilating and sobbing.
Oh man, please don't hurt me. I want my mommy.
After about 4 hours, sunlight fills the hall and illuminates Pearl, who hasn't moved at all and is still crouched on the floor, in the same position, in front of Siren's bedroom door, with her neck and head still turned to the right. Then she nonchalantly just stands up, turns around, and walks to the bathroom door. She lightly taps on it with her fingernails.
Siren? Honey, are you in there?
Siren is curled up around the toilet bowl, eyes bulging, arms and hands trembling uncontrollably. Dried snot and tears are mixed together on her mouth. She jerks a foot when she hears Pearl tapping on the door. Pearl turns the knob and pulls on the door, which gives a little, but then the hook latch stops it from opening.
Unlock the door, sweetheart. You're worrying me now.
Siren is too scared to talk and doesn't know what to do. Siren sees a butter knife emerge through the crack in the door, between the door and door jamb, and slowly move up from the doorknob area to the lock latch and pushes the hook up and out of the loop. Siren freaks out as the door slowly opens to about a 6-inch gap and there's a silence on the other end. The blind, crippled woman's face suddenly appears in the doorway.
I see you.
Siren has a full-body jerk and wakes up in bed screaming. Her sheets, blanket, and only dress are soiled. She runs out of the room in a panic. She rushes down the hallway and the stairs. Pearl is in the dining area, setting down a bowl of biscuits and gravy onto the table. Her eyes enlarge as she hears the screams and shrieks coming from the stairwell. Pearl rounds the corner into the main hallway as Siren descends the staircase, and they bump into each other.
Siren!
Siren falls back a foot after bouncing off Pearl's huge belly. Pearl leans down to pick her up, and Siren is batting her hands away, not letting Pearl touch her.
Stop that. Oh my. Siren, stop.
Siren is still hyperventilating from being in fight-or-flight mode and can't form any words.
What is wrong with you? Something upstairs? What is it? Talk to me.
Pearl overpowers Siren, grabbing her arms. She escorts her into the kitchen and pours a glass of water from a pitcher on the counter. She hands the cup to Siren. Siren sees genuine concern and goodwill on Pearl's face, so she clutches the glass with both hands and drinks all the water down. She finally begins to breathe more regularly.
Did you have that same dream again?
Siren nods while finishing the water.
Yes, but worser. I had another dream, and it was about you. You were really scary and mean.
Pearl wipes the tears from her eyes with her apron, trying to comfort her.
I know just a trick to help you. I know just a thing. Besides an increase in meds. After breakfast, let's go get you a cute little puppy dog. Little woof woof.
Siren brightens a little, but is in the stage of crying hiccups. The animal shelter is a single-story building with cyclone fencing around the side. There are kennels and pet carriers for sale outside by the front door. An attractive woman in her mid-20s appears behind the counter. Her dark, spiral-curled hair is held together by a big red flower beret. Her name tag reads Manuela, and in smaller letters beneath that reads Volunteer.
Good morning. Are you folks here for a dog or a cat? If you want something else, you'll have to come back on Friday when the livestock arrives.
We're here to choose a puppy for this little girl.
Pa! May I recommend a former service dog? He was disabled in the line of duty, but he's such a sweet dog. And he's scheduled to be euthanized this week if no one takes him home.
Manuela brushes back tears.
$100 easily the price for a 3-legged dog. But Tripod is worth every penny. Tripod, that's his name, by the way. A good Christian name, Tripod is.
Pearl looks to Siren.
Well now, let's go see this tripod, shall we?
They follow Manuela into the back kennel area. In a cage at the end of the walkway sits Tripod, a friendly and outgoing mutt. He perks up and barks excitedly at the sudden attention. Manuela opens the kennel and he runs out, tail wagging. Siren radiates pure joy.
Hi, puppy.
Tripod leaps up on Siren, licking and slobbering all over her face.
No, Tripod. No.
I think we found a winner. Siren, what you think?
Tripod, for reasons unknown, latches a hold of the right side of Siren's bottom lip really hard and begins pulling. Manuela and Pearl gasp in shock.
Oh no, oh God.
Manuela grabs the dog away from Siren's face. Siren is screaming as blood gushes from her mouth. Pearl uses Siren's dress to wipe the blood up and stop the bleeding lip. Manuela quickly goes to the front counter to get some gauze from the first aid kit.
We got a bleeder!
We'll take him.
Pearl smiles and nods. They walk to the front counter.
If you want to see me tonight on the grand stage for a dingy of a feeling,
Pearl writes Manuela a check.
the play is called A Dingy of a Feeling. It's tonight at 10 p.m. Here's your dog. Get out.
And they exit the building with Tripod. Siren finds an old baseball in Pearl's backyard and is playing fetch with Tripod. Meanwhile, Pearl is standing over her cucumber garden. Her rolled-up Twinkle Dongs magazine keeps falling out of her apron pocket. In the dirt, on a budding sprout, is Gilbert's employee name tag. Apparently, at some point, she left it off of him at the hardware store. Pearl is whispering emphatically.
Grow. Dang you, come on, Gilbert. I have needs.
The baseball hits the side of the outbuilding and annoys Pearl, who is still frustrated about Gilbert the cucumber's slow growth.
Siren!
Pearl anxiously clutches the magazine.
Siren, you and Tripod don't play so close to Mel's shed. Play closer to the road.
Okay, Pearl.
Siren, followed closely by Tripod, relocates them to the front yard near the gravel road. After a few minutes of play, Siren has an uncontrollable coughing fit. Pearl is seated on the porch swing sipping lemonade, reading a home and garden magazine and humming, "Shall we gather at the river?" She notices Siren doubled over and calls out.
Are you all right?
Siren continues coughing and doesn't answer.
Sweetie? Sweetie?
Pearl closes the magazine and walks the length of the yard to where Siren is trying to catch her breath and warmly places her hand on her back. The coughing eases a bit, and Siren starts breathing normally. Pearl puts the back of her hand on Siren's forehead.
Oh, my fever's returned. Praise God. Let's get you back in bed so you can convalesce and recuperate and be healed of thine infirmities.
Pearl leads Siren through the house and up to her bedroom. Siren and Tripod climb up into the bed.
So you don't get bored, I'm going to set up a home theater for you.
Pearl leaves the room and returns, wheeling in a 19-inch TV VCR combo in front of Siren's bed. She smiles smugly.
Be right back with some wholesome cartoons and other inspirational videos for you and Tripod to enjoy.
Pearl returns with an old bourbon box mostly filled with unmarked VHS tapes. She pulls out two little blue walkie-talkies from the box, turns them on and clicks the button a couple of times to see if the batteries still work. She pops in a tape. The Velvet Mongoose begins to play.
You know how to use walkies, don't you?
Siren shakes her head no. Pearl walks out into the hallway and shuts the door.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing. Oh, damn it, she's got Captain. The Beam me up, Siren.
Then silently and without any emotion, Pearl re-enters the room and pulls a red bottle out of her apron and makes Siren take 2 big swallows of what might or might not be cough medicine. She puts a cold, wet washcloth on Siren's burning forehead and exits without a word. After the velvet mongoose ends, Siren gets up to change the tape. She walks to the bourbon box and finds a tape labeled Good Music. Curious, she puts it into the VCR, presses play, and climbs back into bed. On the TV screen is Pearl singing Baptist-costal hymns, karaoke style.
The deal is still on the roses, and the voice I hear falling on my ear, the song of God discloses. It walks with me and he talks with me, and he tells me I am his own.
Siren scans with the fast forward feature.
There's a land that is fairer than day, and by faith we can see it afar. For the Father waits over the way.
And realizes it's just hours and hours of Pearl singing. She sings in the garden, sweet by and by, standing on the promises, while watching and kind of enjoying the music. Siren, drowsy from the presumed cold and flu syrup, nods off while the tape continues to play Pearl's musical selections.
Standing on the promises of God. Standing, I'm standing on the promises of Christ. Myself, God damn it. Standing, I'm standing on the promises of God.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Surprisingly, it was actually mildly entertaining, but it's been over an hour and Susan's been blowing up my phone, so I'm gonna head out.
You settle the hell down. Your over-enthusiasm is really starting to cramp Grandpa's style, kid. You just sit there, you little wiener, and you listen to my story, okay?
No, I'm done. I'm going home. We can finish it another time. Why do you have that crazy look in your eyes?
Oh, you're not going anywhere, Sonny Jim. Do you think me soft? Like a baby? Do you think me senile? Like a wrinkled old butt? I know what you did last summer, so just sit right back and you hear a tale, or else Marmalade and Susan are gonna get an earful about your little side piece in Morocco.
What the hell are you talking about? I've never cheated on her, and I've never even been out of the country.
The stakes are higher than you think, lassie. I'm willing to say anything against you. And who's gonna believe Perry over Chester? I'm the damn powdered azaleas. So when I say jump, you say, how high?
You've lost your mind.
How high now? Walk out that door and let's find out.
Wow, blackmailing your own grandson to force read me a shit novel. You're a sick man. You should be in politics.
Sadly, my dream of being president has flown out the window. But you're gonna hear the rest of this story. So help me God. Now sit down and shut up. Siren awakens a bit when Tripod rolls over against her. With her eyes still closed, she pets and scratches his fur tenderly.
Oh, Tripod. I love you, Tripod.
Her hand gets tangled in his wet hair, and when she pulls her hand away, she's suddenly holding a wad of the dog's fur. Confused and concerned, she opens her eyes to find that she's actually clutching a curly gray-haired wig. Her eyes pop out and she looks over to where she thought Tripod was, and instead sees Pearl lying on her side, facing her. Pearl has a buzz cut, which the wig previously concealed, and she is eerily staring at Siren. Siren jerks a foot away from Pearl. Pearl then opens her mouth and lets out a loud, sustained, blood-curdling shriek. Pearl finally stops. Her face mellows and she smiles sweetly.
Siren, it's time you learned about the Bible.
Pearl rolls out of bed and walks to the door, leaving her wig on the bed.
Follow me.
Hesitantly, Siren follows. They slowly walk the upstairs hallway, then down the stairs and into the washroom. They reach the top of the basement steps and Pearl continues down. Siren's heart is racing as she reluctantly follows Pearl down each jagged step. Pearl reaches the door and pulls out her key ring and uses the large skeleton key to unlock an antique padlock on the medieval-looking door. Pearl pulls the heavy door open and turns to Siren.
Don't move.
Pearl disappears into the pitch blackness of the interior of the basement. Siren remains in the doorway for what seems like forever, when a dim hanging light bulb is pulled in the entryway, 2 feet from where Siren is standing. Pearl motions for Siren to follow her deeper into the still darker areas of the basement. As Siren's walking through the narrow corridor, she looks into a doorway on the left and sees a deeply stained roll-away bed. At the foot of it is a VHS camcorder on a tripod, and a strobe light is flashing. On a roll-away bed with his hands and feet both handcuffed to the metal frame, a ball gag in his mouth, and in his whitey-tighties is Gilbert. He has open wounds on his chest that appear to be scratches or teeth marks. As they walk a couple more steps forward, there is another room on the right. Inside, she sees the floor is drenched in blood, and it's also splattered all over the walls and ceiling. In a circle, seated with their legs crossed, there are 5 people dressed in their Sunday best. In the center of them stands a cult leader, speaking to them passionately from a book that's open in his left hand.
The devil was down deep, deep in the earth, laying down the road to perdition. Brick by brick, the cement slabs mixed with lust, gluttony, wrath. I ask who provided the mortar, the daughter and genier of original sin. Eve, that is who. The symbol of sin is the apple she took within her. And today we have the legacy of Steve Jobs, Job, selling their apple for $666. Woe to you and its taxes on your soul.
As the group notices people walking down the hallway, they stop and stare directly at Siren. Pearl and Siren continue on and enter the main room at the end of the corridor. There are 4 antique school desks. The blind old woman with the stringy hair is sitting at one of the desks in the middle of the room, with an open colored by numbers book on top.
Have a seat.
Siren doesn't move. She's frozen and speechless, staring at the terrifying old woman.
I said, have a seat.
Scared of how Pearl may react if she doesn't obey, she takes a seat at the desk that is the farthest away from the blind invalid. Pearl slams a humongous book down on Siren's desk. The unabridged New World Dictionary.
Mel used to join us down here. He used to believe. He used to know. He loved me and knew what I was.
Pearl turns and addresses the old woman.
Chuck, you remember? No. Say amen if you remember. And America doesn't love us anymore. The people from the back page, they do. Siren knows. She understands. And Tripod does too. I hate when people judge you based upon your hate.
While Pearl rants and paces back and forth with her back turned, Siren stealthily gets up and sneaks past her, then runs out of the basement at full speed. Siren hurries up the cement steps, tripping and getting a deep gash in her knee. She reaches the back door and limps outside. There are 4 women in their Sunday best, covered with blood, playing badminton. They're laughing and carrying on. Siren halts and runs in the opposite direction into a dense grouping of orange trees and stops and looks around. All of a sudden, the few trees become a 100-acre orchard, and she hears Pearl.
I'm gonna get you. You've been a naughty girl. Naughty girl, you can't have him. He's mine.
She hears Pearl running and panting. Siren closes her eyes. When she reopens them, she finds herself underneath the kitchen table. The tablecloth drapes down about 2 inches from the floor, and she sees someone kneeling directly in front of her on the other side of the tablecloth.
Help me! Help me! Siren, help me!
Siren slowly reaches for the tablecloth and lifts it up. As she raises it, a hand with super long, sharp fingernails grabs her arm, and she feels teeth sink into her wrist. Siren screams and shakes her arm free while running out from under the table and sees that it was Pearl that had bitten her. Pearl, surreal and disfigured, is wearing hot pants and a halter top. Her mouth is enormous. Her teeth are shaped like daggers, and her eyes are the size of dimes. Her skin is cratered like a star-fingered toad giving birth, and baby toads are emerging sporadically from the holes. Siren runs up the stairs. Pearl gets a wicked grin and speaks in rhythm to the tune of My Lumps by the Navy Bean Nasties, previously known as the Navy Bean Bungalow Boys, a popular hip-hop group, with backing vocals by the Badonkadonk Beans.
My lumps, my little scrotum lumps. My lumps, my lovely scrotum lumps. My lumps, my lovely scrotum lumps. Paul, cancer. Heard you got nothing on this shit.
I have ball cancer.
Pearl growls gleefully. Pearl maniacally gallops on all fours up the staircase after Siren. Siren climbs to the top of the stairs, then runs into the storage room to hide. Siren hears Pearl vigorously shaking the doorknob. Pearl begins laughing jovially as she pulls out her big keyring. Siren keeps running deeper into the storage room, tripping on bags and boxes. She stumbles into another door at the end of the room and quickly opens it and goes in. Inside, she's now in the First Baptist Church of Pasco that Pearl showed her. Only it's run down, boarded up, and abandoned. And the size is greatly diminished, like that of a small convenience store. Siren is frantically trying to exit the church, but she can't get out because the windows and doors are boarded and chained up. When Pearl appears behind Siren, she's wearing a solid black and white collared Lizzie Borden-style dress. Her physique and face are back to normal, but she's giddy, violent, and insane. Pearl is chanting as she slowly walks towards Siren with a huge labrys in her hands.
Booga, ooga, cha 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 cha, polka, booga, ooga, polka, polka, cha cha. Booga, ooga, cha 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 cha, polka, booga, ooga, polka, polka, cha cha. Booga, ooga, cha 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 cha, polka, booga, ooga, polka, polka, cha cha. Booga, ooga, polka, polka, cha cha. Booga, boom.
Siren sees Pearl and just hopelessly falls to a seated position on the ground with her knees up and her feet placed together. She buries her face in her legs and cries. Siren wakes up in her bedroom, gasping, crying, and trembling with fear. It was just a bad dream. The tape of Pearl's karaoke is still playing on the TV. Siren gets up and goes to the bathroom to pee and re-wet the cold washcloth for her forehead. From the bathroom, Siren pages Pearl on the walkie-talkie for moral support after such a hideous nightmare.
Pearl! Pearl! Pearl!
But there's no response on the other end. She looks out of the bathroom window and the car is gone. Anxious, she returns to her room and the box of VHS tapes. She ejects Pearl's karaoke tape and quickly chooses a new VHS tape that's in a cartoon box. She inserts it into the VCR and presses play. Siren laughs out loud as a clever woodpecker foils a mischievous kitty's plan to catch him over and over again. The cartoon is doing a good job of redirecting her attention away from the horrible dream she just had. But then the tracking on the tape begins jumping. As she's watching this happen, hoping it clears up for the next zany episode, the tape cuts to a home movie scene already in progress. Siren, intrigued, continues to watch. It's a first-person recording of Pearl's backyard dated 15 years earlier. The cameraman is walking, shakily, towards a freshly painted green outbuilding. The door is pulled open and inside is Pearl's husband, Melvin. Melvin is of average height with a thin build. He's wearing mechanic's overalls and tinkering under the hood of a 58 Oldsmobile Rocket. He stands up and turns to the camera. He has a kind face and a receding hairline.
Hey, babe.
Melvin smiles at Pearl, who is the one filming behind the camera.
And how is my sweetheart doing? Always working on that damn blasted car. I wish you'd spend as much time with me and God as you do with that car.
Melvin laughs and walks over to the camera and gives Pearl a big smooch.
Mwah.
The tape skips and goes to another scene. It appears to be a personal video diary of a slightly thinner and younger Pearl, still in her early 40s. She's wearing less makeup, still has her real hair, and is in trendy clothing. The camera is aimed at her face and she's sitting on her bed filming herself. And the monologue is already in progress.
Know what to do? I mean, you think he would respect me more? I am a deacon after all. At times I feel like I'm invisible. He may have a whore on the side.
Pearl's face disfigures in rage.
Adulterer, after all I've done for you.
The scene skips a little forward to another part of the same diary session, where Pearl is screaming wrathfully and incoherently.
Bless you, Melvin number one. Bless you, Melvin number one. Bless you, Melvin number one. Bless you, Melvin number one.
I will dance on your corpse when the chickens come home to roost, you deadbeat hippie piece of occupation.
Pearl pauses to catch her breath and has a slight chest pain.
My chest. Oh, Lordy. Ooh, it hurts so. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Oh, God. Breathe. Come on, baby girl. Come on, Pearl. Come on, Pearl. Breathe.
Siren is in shock and awe. With her mouth agape, she watches further.
Keep breathing. There we
It cuts back to a cartoon in mid-episode for a few minutes. Then statics and jumps again to another scene, where there's a big dinner and cocktail party on the back lawn of the Second Baptist Church of Pasco. The camera shakes a tiny bit and Pearl is heard shushing Melvin as they wait for their pastor to speak.
Shh, Melvin. Shh, shh, Melvin. Shh. Shh, 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 Melvin. Shh.
There are people in corporate casual attire, laughing at silly stories and toasting champagne to good times, sitting around leisurely and chatting about the good old days, smoking cigars and pipes. It's clearly a 4th of July holiday celebration from all the flags and banners sparsely decorated throughout the area. Standing at a podium and speaking loudly into a PA system is Pastor Charlene, a.k.a. Chuck. She is much younger, in her mid-30s, and has short blonde hair. She is a little overweight, has no makeup on, is wearing thick frame glasses, and a navy blue pantsuit.
And make sure that you all graciously welcome our fellow Baptist brethren and sisterin to our 4th of July shindig from across town at First Baptist Costal. Welcome.
Pastor Charlene steps down and the music swells. The camera moves to a secluded area and sits on the ground, filming the various flowers and ferns.
God's beauty is everywhere. You don't have to look far, children.
The camera moves up as Pearl takes a seat in a folding chair nearby and begins singing the song In the Garden to herself.
Welcome to the garden.
A man, Remus Beeman, who resembles a skinny porky pig in the face, casually strolls up to Pearl.
Hey there, Pearl. How have you and Melvin been doing?
Pearl turns the camera towards Remus.
He's at the beer gardens. Why don't you go ask him yourself?
Remus puts his hands up and partially covers the camera lens.
Well, I expected a little more civility. What's it been? 4 years since the congregation had a falling out? Can you put that camera down?
Pearl leaves the camera on Remus.
Remus, is there something you need to say to me, or are you just gonna stand there and be a jackass?
Remus puts his hand down.
Well, just because you're wrong on the color of the carpet doesn't mean that our two chargers can't get along anymore.
You and your blue carpet can go to Hades. Excuse my Greek. We're happy with our competition orange carpet. F you very much, and thanks for playing.
Melvin staggers up behind Remus, shirt tail untucked, face flushed and sweaty, clearly drunk off his ass.
Remus, is there a problem?
No, Melon. No problem at all.
Remus turns and walks away.
Have a happy life. Jerkweeds.
Pearl lowers the camera to rest on her belly.
So how's Scabrous, Rebecca, Reba, Kay?
Melvin's taken aback at the question.
What do you mean? Fine, I guess.
Horpox! Horpox, I hate both of you and wish you would die. A pox on you both.
When Pearl explodes at Melvin, a hush falls over everyone as they turn to look in Pearl and Melvin's direction. The tape continues to play as Siren suddenly hears the front door slam shut upon Pearl returning home and entering the front door of the house, and then the sound of her coming up the staircase. Siren quickly presses stop on the VCR and ejects the tape. She rushes to the tall wardrobe and moves back some hanging clothing to hide the tape in a recessed shoe compartment. Pearl barges in with a bundle of something tucked under her arm, while Siren is standing in front of the wardrobe, looking guilty for something.
What are you doing out of bed, young lady?
Changing the movie?
Pearl is implacable.
Well, why the heck are you over here then when the TV's over there by your bed?
Pearl smiles and her demeanor changes into a very placable one.
If you're looking for a dress in the closet, you don't have to bother anymore. I just picked you up one.
Pearl pulls her fancy, canary yellow, Victorian-styled quinceañera dress out of a brown paper bag. Siren is elated and reaches out for the dress. Both of their faces are beaming.
Go ahead, try it on.
Siren stares up at Pearl for a minute. Pearl realizes Siren wants privacy.
Oh my heavens, I will wait right outside the door and let me know when you're ready.
After a couple of minutes, Siren opens the door wearing the dress with a huge grin on her face.
Oh, you look beautiful.
Pearl and Siren smile at each other. Pearl gives her 2 more huge swallows from a red bottle.
All right, honey, back in the bed now. I'll be back to check on you later. I got some gardening to attend to. Cucumbers in limbo.
Siren gets back in the bed and Pearl leaves.